recent military strikes carried out by the United States and the United Kingdom against Houthi targets in Yemen, global tensions reached a new high. The world was watching as US President Joe Biden, in a televised address, announced the decision to launch these strikes. This marked a significant escalation in Middle Eastern tensions coming against the backdrop of the Hamas terror, attacks against Israel on October 7th. President Biden's speech was stern and resolute. It declared, "The actions we take today are not only necessary, they are a moral imperative to defend democracy and human dignity." This statement set a tone of unwavering commitment from the U.S. administration, signaling a new phase in international relations. Hossein al-Azi, a senior Houthi official, issued a stern warning in retaliation, vowing a response to what he deemed a blatant act of aggression. His statement, broadcast on the Houthi-run Al Masirah TV, was fiery and filled with defiance. Al-Azi emphasized that the consequences of this military intervention would not be taken lightly. The ripples of this confrontation were felt far and wide. Maritime attacks orchestrated by the Houthi group had already disrupted traffic in crucial trade routes along the Red Sea. Now, with the US-UK intervention, these disruptions seem poised to escalate. Welcome back of another interesting chapter of our channel. Inventive Insights makes you discover the unfolding narrative of China's inventive ventures and expanding impact across various global regions. If you're exploring our channel for the first time and have an interest in the dynamic progression of China's evolution, and increasing cloud content will surely captivate you. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Global reactions were immediate and varied. Turkey and Iran, notable sympathizers of the Houthi and Hamas movements, voiced their displeasure over the US-led attacks. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan condemned the strikes as a disproportionate use of force. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign ministry issued a statement criticizing the actions as escalatory and detrimental to regional stability. In Israel, the response to the US-UK intervention was cautiously optimistic. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a press conference, acknowledged the complexity of the situation, but expressed gratitude for the support against what he termed regional aggressors. In Turkey, President Erdogan's criticism of the US and UK's actions was more than a mere diplomatic stance. It reflected a deeper ideological and strategic positioning of Turkey in the region. His speeches often highlighted the need for what he called a balanced approach in the Middle East, advocating for the rights of Palestinians and critiquing Western policies. Iran, as a regional power and a key player in the Middle Eastern dynamics, who viewed the situation through a strategic lens. The Iranian leadership, while condemning the strikes, also saw an opportunity to expand its influence. Karen's support for the Houthi rebels was not just about countering Saudi Arabia, but also about asserting its role in the region's power balance. The United Nations, concerned about the escalating situation, called for restraint and dialogue. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that further military actions could lead to a full-blown regional conflict, urging all parties to return to the negotiating table. The human cost of the conflict began to surface in reports and images. Civilians caught in the crossfire faced dire circumstances. Stories of families displaced, communities shattered, and basic services disrupted filled the media, highlighting the urgent need for a humanitarian response. The conflict also exacerbated the refugee crisis in the region. Thousands fled their homes, seeking safety across borders. Refugee camps in neighboring countries struggled to cope with the influx, raising concerns about a humanitarian disaster in the making amid the chaos. Diplomatic efforts intensified. A voice from the European Union, the United States, Russia, and China engaged in talks to de-escalate the situation. These discussions, held in various capitals, aimed at finding a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Same breakthrough came when a peace proposal brokered by the United Nations and supported by key international players was presented. The proposal called for an immediate ceasefire, withdrawal of foreign forces, and the start of comprehensive peace talks involving all parties. The reaction to the peace proposal was mixed. While some parties welcomed it as a step towards ending the conflict, others were skeptical of its effectiveness. The Houthi leadership, in particular, expressed reservations, demanding assurances about the lifting of blockades and the restoration of what they considered their legitimate rights in Yemen. Ken's deliberations ensued among the various stakeholders. The United Nations played a central role in these discussions, attempting to bridge the gaps between the conflicting parties. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations continued to advocate for an immediate ceasefire, emphasizing the dire situation of civilians in the conflict zones. After prolonged negotiations, a breakthrough was achieved. The ceasefire agreement was signed, facilitated by the United Nations and backed by major world powers. This agreement marked a significant step towards de-escalation, with all parties agreeing to halt military operations and engage in peace talks. With the ceasefire in place, international relief efforts were ramped up, and aid organizations, with the support of the United Nations and various governments, began delivering much-needed humanitarian assistance to the affected areas. Food, medicine, and shelter were provided to thousands of civilians who had borne the brunt of the conflict. The peace talks, held in a neutral location, commenced with representatives from all involved parties. The discussions were tense but constructive, as each party laid out its demands and grievances. The United Nations mediators worked tirelessly to find common ground, emphasizing the need for a lasting solution to the conflict. The international community continued to play a crucial role in supporting the peace process. Global leaders and organizations expressed their support for the talks, urging the parties to reach a comprehensive agreement that would ensure long-term stability in the region. As the peace talks progressed, discussions began about post-conflict reconstruction. Plans were made for rebuilding infrastructure, revitalizing the economy, and addressing the long-term needs of the civilian population. International donors pledged support for these efforts, recognizing the importance of rebuilding war-torn communities. Despite the positive developments, challenges remain. Trust between the conflicting parties was fragile, and the risk of renewed violence was ever present. The international community remained vigilant, ready to intervene should situation deteriorate. In the midst of these challenges, there was a sense of cautious optimism. The ceasefire had held, and the peace talks were making gradual progress. There was a growing hope that after years of conflict, stability might finally be returning to the region. The situation in Yemen and the broader Middle East has significant global implications. The conflict had affected international trade, security, and diplomatic relations. As the peace process moved forward, there was a sense that a resolution could have positive ripple effects across the world, contributing to greater international stability and cooperation. The conflict in Yemen and the subsequent peace process left a lasting impact on the region and the world. It highlighted the complexities of international relations, the importance of diplomacy, and the resilience of communities in the face of adversity. While the path to lasting peace was still uncertain, the events had set a precedent for how global challenges could be addressed through collective effort and a commitment to dialogue and understanding. As the narrative of the conflict and its resolution unfolded, it served as a reminder of the enduring need for cooperation, empathy, and a shared commitment to a better, more peaceful world. The implementation of the ceasefire brought an immediate sense of relief, but it was a fragile peace. United Nations peacekeepers were deployed to monitor the ceasefire and ensure compliance from all sides. Despite some isolated incidents of violence, the general situation remained calm, a testament to the tiredness of war and a yearning for peace among the populace. The immediate focus shifted to addressing the dire humanitarian needs. International aid agencies, in coordination with local organizations, worked tirelessly to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to the millions affected by the conflict. This effort was crucial in rebuilding trust and hope among the people. Political dialogue, as part of the peace process, proved to be a complex endeavor. The parties involved had deeply entrenched positions, shaped by years of conflict. However, under the auspices of the UN and with international support, a framework for political reconciliation began to take shape. This framework focused on power-sharing arrangements, constitutional reforms, and ensuring representation for all groups in Yemen. Rebuilding Yemen's economy was another critical aspect of the peace process. The conflict had devastated the country's infrastructure and economic systems. International financial institutions, along with donor nations, initiated programs for economic recovery, focusing on infrastructure, education, and healthcare, aiming to lay the groundwork for long-term development. The peace process in Yemen had a significant impact on regional dynamics. Neighboring countries, particularly Saudi Arabia and Iran, closely watched the developments. The situation provided an opportunity for these regional powers to move from proxy warfare to diplomatic engagement, influencing the peace process both directly and indirectly. On the international stage, the United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and other global actors continued to play a vital role in supporting the peace process. Diplomatic efforts were intensified to ensure that the peace agreement was not only signed but also effectively implemented. Non-state actors, including tribal leaders and local militias, were integral to the stability of the peace process. Their involvement in the political dialogue was essential for ensuring that the agreement had widespread acceptance and legitimacy across Yemen. The security sector Reform was a critical component of the peace process. Disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration of combatants were necessary to ensure long-term stability. International experts worked alongside local authorities to reform the security apparatus and prevent the resurgence of armed groups. The focus on rebuilding communities was paramount. Efforts were made to ensure that returning refugees and internally displaced persons could find safe homes and livelihoods. Community-driven development programs were initiated, focusing on empowering local populations and fostering social cohesion. Investment in education and healthcare became a priority. Schools were rebuilt and new educational programs were introduced aimed at promoting peace and tolerance. Healthcare facilities were restored and expanded, with a particular focus on addressing the psychological trauma caused by the conflict. The peace process also involved dealing with issues of justice and reconciliation. A Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established to address the grievances of those affected by the conflict, providing a platform for healing and forgiveness. The international community, alongside the Yemeni government, worked on sustainable development plans. These plans were designed to address not just the immediate needs, but also the long-term goals of environmental sustainability, economic stability, and social welfare. The successful implementation of the peace agreement was marked by nationwide celebrations. These celebrations were not just about the end of the conflict, but also about the beginning of a new chapter in Yemen's history. As Yemen embarked on this new journey, the challenges were many, but so were the opportunities. The country had a chance to rebuild itself on principles of inclusivity, democracy, and sustainable development. The resolution of the conflict in Yemen served as a lesson for the global community. It showed that even the most intractable conflicts could be resolved through diplomacy, international cooperation, and a commitment to peace and justice. The story of Yemen's journey from conflict to peace echoed across the world, offering a beacon of hope. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a reminder that peace is always possible, even in the darkest of times. Peace concluded. It left a lasting legacy on both a regional and global scale. The process underscored the importance of collective action in the face of complex challenges and the potential for diplomacy to achieve sustainable peace. Thank you for watching, and I welcome your thoughts and questions on this complex and vital subject. If you want to watch more videos like this, please subscribe, like, and share the video to get exclusive videos about how phenomenally China is developing and growing its influence.